Folks, welcome back to part two with Joe Stunner from Joe Stunner Boxing, Lee from Inside the Distance. Lee, I thought maybe we could look forward to a fight since you have the best record of predicting heavyweights of late.
I
Who do,
wouldn't
who,
say that.
who do you fancy with Fabio Wardley and Justice Hooney? And what's your general thoughts about the fight?
I would. I think Miller was a harder fight. I would have preferred the Miller fight. I've watched quite a lot of Justice Hooney, and he has a terrible habit of every time he punches, his hands go to his waist, pretty much, or below the nipple, and his chin is very much out there. I like him. He's pretty cute. He's when he's throwing punches, he puts punches together well. He's very tidy and throws nice combinations. He's got a decent bit of movement, but that chin in the air, unprotected for as long as it is for him, I just think he's going to be a real problem.
Joe, what do you think?
Yeah, I expect Wardley to stop him.
So.
I think Hooney. I've never been impressed, but you can make the argument that he's a work in progress. Yeah. Whereas I think Wardley is probably in his prime. You might be able to tweak a few things, but he's probably close to as good as he's going to get. So maybe you could say he's getting Hooney at the right time. But yeah, there's too many gaps for me with Hooney. And I don't think he hits hard enough to take out a guy with a world-class chin.
The
Lorena fight was a tough one for Hooney.
A lot of subscribers seem to say that Justice Hooney is really, really good, and I'm sure he is. I'm tending to agree with you on this, though, Joe. I think that Fabio Wardley is going to be a bit too much. I'm also hoping that Fabio Wardley is going to be a bit too much. I very much like Fabio Wardley. He might be my current favorite British fighter, almost. But yeah, I'm excited about this fight. But I, like you, Lee, I'm a little disappointed it wasn't Big Baby Miller.
Yeah, and that's not to say that Fabio. I mean, Joe said I think Fabio is possibly physically near his prime, but I think technically there's loads to improve on. Whether he can improve on it, whether it's too late, whether he started too late, we don't know. But I made a video after the first Frazer Clark fight, and I said if they don't plug the massive holes in the defense, there's going to be major problems as he steps up in class. But I don't think Hooney is that level to really expose that.
See, I think Miller, who I have no problem with him being kicked out of boxing altogether, but I think had he fought Wardley, he'd have been a threat.
Problem.
Yeah, that amount of mass in front of you with a good chin and pressure putting on you. I think Wardley, because Wardley has been shaken. People against even going back to was it Eric Molina and also Nathan Gorman shook him just before he got stopped. He didn't. I'm not saying he buzzed him completely, but he managed to connect, and it had an effect. So I think he's probably dodged a bullet there, really.
But that is why Fabio Wardley is such an attraction, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because there is that, and I'm a massive Fabio Wardley fan. Part of me wishes he'd tighten up his game, but that's the attraction. He's never going to be in a bad fight for all those reasons.
I was really hoping that Fabio would stay as British champion and maybe try to win a Lonsdale belt outright. I think it's kind of sad. Maybe we've talked about this. I think we have talked about this in our WhatsApp group that the British heavyweight title is not revered the way it was revered when I was a kid, for example. I can't imagine Henry Cooper relinquishing the British title so that he could go and fight, somebody else. And he never did. So I just wish that the British heavyweight title was still viewed with the same degree of prestige that it was, what I guess is over 50 years ago now.
Well, don't forget. Sorry, Joe. The amount of people that used to turn up to watch a British title fight, 50,000 people.
Yeah.
City or whatever. And I mean, you'd get, now of course it was a different era because it didn't have TV or the internet or anything like that, but it does show that, the popularity of your Coopers and all those fighters from that era. Yeah, but it's a great belt. I mean, I'd definitely be one I'd be looking out for if I was a pro fighter.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was just going to say, I mean, Joe's much more of a historian than I'll ever be, but I don't think the British title is probably valued as much in any weight division as it should be, because it is. If you're a fighter, I think it's one of the most prestigious titles there is, especially if you're British, obviously.
Oh yeah, and it always was. I mean, I grew up, and like when somebody was the British champion, in my mind, they were that the very fact that they had won that meant that they were an elite level operator. I mean, I know that wasn't factually accurate, but that's how I viewed it. Certainly in the late '60s and early '70s, when I was really, developing my interest in boxing. If it was a British champion, then it was like, okay, that's automatic top 5 in the world.
I think almost the same can be said for the European titles. If you go back to sort of the 80s, the European title was very revered and made a lot of back then. Now it's really a bit of a stepping stone. I'll hold it for a second just to say that I've had it, and then I'll move on because I'm going to dump it. The European title is not really respected, I suppose.
There's still no substitute for doing it the old way, though.
Yeah, there isn't.
Yeah.
British, European, world. It's tried and tested over decades. Way to go.
Well, this is why I'm sort of not worried. That would be the wrong word. I'm curious, maybe is the right word, about Moses Itoma and what the plan is for Moses Itoma, especially in view of, is it this coming weekend? He's fighting this former wannabe NFL lineman who's outside the world top 500. I'm not getting that.
I don't like what they're doing with the term. I didn't like it when they were talking about beating Mike Tyson's record. I couldn't give a shit about. But you're right. I mean, first of all, there's been quite a gap between this upcoming fight and the last one. He should be fighting, every 5 to 6 weeks.
Well, every couple of months at the very most, right?
Yeah. And he should be in there top 30 fighters now.
Yeah, with Itoma, it's a bit like as Joe said, there was this clamour to make him the youngest heavyweight champion of all time. Once that evidently was the wrong thing to do and was never going to happen, it's like, well, can't we go about this career the proper way now? And it seems to be there's kind of, to me, from the outside, a bit of a lack of direction and a lack of a roadmap, really, for want of a better word. I don't know. There seems to be which angle they're kind of going for.
Yeah, he is difficult to match, though. In fairness,
yeah.
Do you?
He's sort of in that. He's way too good for say the top 50 or 60, like from say 30 to 60. But who are you going to get? You have to pay through your nose to get anyone half decent in there with him.
Yeah, and as you say, Joe, like you said, he's too good for that level. But that means, right, well, the next level it is competition. Well, maybe that is slightly too risky at this point early in his career. So you're right, Joe. There's this kind of bit of a conundrum as to where to go, isn't there?
Well, why isn't he in with people like Hughie Fury, for example? Like, what he's like. I understood when he fought Dempsey McCain. I thought that the next level should be higher up. But if you wanted him to go back a little bit, why not? Why not the Dave Allens, Johnny Fishers, Hughie Furies of this world?
Well, Dave Allen's already said Moses Itoma was way too good for me. I'm not going to fight.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Dave Allen actually said that. You're right.
Typical Dave Allen comment.
But we're looking at this, and I understand it's expensive to get sparring partner fights for him. But Mike Balojan, like, I mean,
the Jake Paul opponent.
I beg pardon?
It's a Jake Paul opponent.
Yeah, like, I mean, his last fight was against somebody, Lamont Capers, who won 11 and lost 20. Like really, what are we dealing with here?
Maybe it's just a case of they're gonna do these fights just to carry on selling the brand? I don't know. Sorry, Joe.
No, I was just going to say, what about trying to drag someone like a Charles Martin over here?
Yeah, that would have made more sense. Like a name that people recognize. Even yeah. Anyways, I've moaned about it on my channel because I can't it can't make sense to me. The only thing I can think of, and I'm just going to throw this out here. You guys tell me if I'm smoking crack. That the
I'm
training team
sure
of
you're not
Mo.
smoking crack.
What was that?
I'm sure you're not smoking crack.
No, I'm not allowed to smoke inside the house. But do you think the training team of Atama have seen something that maybe he's got a glass chin, or like that he's had some sort of breakdown in camp that they got to rebuild him this way?
No, it doesn't say. Yeah, he was watching him in a video it was a video on the Ben Davison Performance Center, and he was in there amongst with all the other guys in there. And no, supremely confident. Everyone seems supremely confident around him. I don't think it's that. I just think it's easy paydays, I suppose, before we get to the real stuff. Maybe I don't know.
Well, if anyone's got time on their side, it's him. What, 20?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
heavyweight. Jesus Christ,
definitely.
he's got. He could spend the next 6 or 7 years treading water, and still, provided he keeps his motivation going, he could still become undisputed.
Yeah, you're right, Joe. I mean, he's essentially a star already, so they probably could get away with these non-events because, as Joe said, they've got ages. There's no rush, and he's a name already, so it just builds the exposure.
We were on the other episode though talking about that strange concept called value for money. If I'm buying a ticket to go to see this event is it Glasgow? I'm not sure if I'm going to be satisfied with watching Moses Atama like this.
Is it headline? Is he headline?
It's not, is it?
So if he's not headline, it doesn't really matter, does it? It's void. He's undercard. He's not the headline, so it doesn't really matter. Stick him on, give him a run out.
I guess the headline is Josh Taylor and Usman. I think Moses is like co-main or something like that.
Oh yeah, I was just going to say that. Isn't that a co? Yeah.
Well, I did a video earlier today about a Ukrainian heavyweight called Bohdan Mironets, who, in my opinion, is the best heavyweight no one's heard of. And this guy is currently, I think he's 10-1, but he's come over here twice and he's upset Cash Ali a couple of years ago, 2-3 years ago, Nathan Gorman, and he recently appointed in Germany a German-based Cuban undefeated fighter, heavyweight. This guy could, in theory, give someone like Atama, a very good fight and a learning fight, because he'd have to use skills against this kid. This kid is like 6'5", light for the weight. He's really just what they would call a bridgerweight, I suppose, 215, 218, but can move well, boxes well, good chin. This is the type of guy Atama needs to be in with. Yeah,
I agree. Yeah. It was interesting to see these sort of machinations. I do like the idea of this new Ukrainian prospect. As we know, the Ukraine can produce some very fine heavyweights.
Yeah. I mean, it could also be a case with this fight for Atama that maybe he's got a bit of a cold, bit of a chest infection, slight injury, but they still want to get him out. He still feels okay. That's what give you a very, very low risk appointment, maybe. I don't know. I mean, Dave Allen was just saying that he fought with a bad chest infection and a cold, but this is a multitude of reasons.
But this fight's been announced for a long time, right? So it's been around.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Anyways, just interesting to me. I'm sure that Moses will do well. I'm sure it's a fairly safe return at the bookies if he wanted to go and put money on. A fight that we haven't spoken about, I don't know if we spoke about it much on our chats either, is Kakachi and Wood. What did you guys think of that performance? For me, I really enjoyed the fight.
Good fight.
Joe?
Yeah, it was a good fight. I picked Kakachi to win on points, I think.
So did I. Yeah.
I think I was slightly surprised he won by stoppage, but he's never looked better, and he's 36 years old. I mean, whereas some people mature very young and have their peak very young, others, they have that Indian summer of a career, and this This guy's there's a slight touch of the Dave Allens about him in that he says, you know, give me the money. I just want the money. I mean, he's been a world champ, but he wants cash in now.
I was thinking about that. There is some similarity. I, I I hope that you guys will forgive my cynicism. I sometimes get worried when an elite athlete starts performing at their very, very best when they're 36 years of age. I really hope that there's nothing untoward about this, but it is kind of something to think about. You know, like at 36 and he's sort of performing better than ever. It's quite something.
Well, yeah. I mean, he doesn't look like a 36-year-old in the way he boxes and in the ring, does he?
No.
But I think humans have evolved where we are physically in better shape later. You know what I mean? I just think that's an evolution. I think you can look at that in a lot of sports. And sometimes you just don't see the best out of these guys. They need certain guys to see the best, and they peak at different times. But I think Kakachi just, I mean, Lee Wood's blatantly on the downside of his career. I think Lee Wood's always pretty much to make that weight. He's clearly his punch resistance, while still being good, because he could have been got out of there a lot earlier. It's clearly not, you know, and he didn't look like he was punching that hard. He was getting caught very easily. But Kakachi's kind of a problem for everyone, for anyone really, on that form.
Very, very big super featherweight as well.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's a tribute, like, you know, you were saying there, to modern nutrition, strength and conditioning training, modern methods. It does extend athletes' careers. Like there was, it was an absolute rule at 36, especially for like a super feather. That was way over the hill.
Especially in the lower weights as well. When you consider going back to say the 80s, if you were a flyweight bantamweight and you were 30, you were considered.
Yeah, just going to say that. Yeah.
Now it's 36. It's, you know, I've got something left.
And 36 used to be that sort of magic number for heavyweights. If you were a 36-year-old heavyweight, you were really, the exit sign should be flashing, right?
I mean, the thing is now as well, as you said, with the advances in science, it's the recovery that's been made leaps and bounds in. So they can do these fights and they can do them a bit later because the knowledge around the recovery and how to replenish after fights, and just the care is just so much more advanced than it wasn't back in the day. And I think to a degree as well, the way that a lot of the fighters, their professionalism in certain fighters who are that professional are a lot better at looking after themselves and, you know, prolonging their lifespan, should we say.
Yeah, I mean, that living the life, as they say, you know, like I don't think that if you spent a lot of time in Quebec City, you would ever find Artur Beterbiev puking his guts up outside a pub. Whereas, you know,
right.
Your Ricky Hattons and your Tyson Furies had a different approach to extracurricular, right?
Yeah. I mean, it goes in. I mean, you can look at, you know, take, you know, I think Ryan Giggs played till he was quite old, didn't he?
Yeah.
Ronaldo, look at Ronaldo, the age he's still playing at. You know, not their best, but, you know, it's a testament to how different it is, I think, in the modern age compared to back in the day. You had fighters that would do that, but they were freaks. That's why they was great. They were. Whereas now it's the science and the knowledge behind it that aids the ones that aren't freaks to continue.
Well, if you look at, like, Archie Moore was an absolute aberration, wasn't he? I mean, he became
absolutely.
He was about 38, was 36, something like that. And then but on the other hand, if you look at the other end of the scale, Muhammad Ali, when he lost to Larry Holmes, was 38.
Yeah,
that would be particularly old for a heavyweight nowadays. I know Ali had an incredibly long, arduous career, but 38. You put Ali in the modern game with modern techniques and, you know, looking after yourself, nutrition, diet, and so on, he could have prolonged his career.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is fight miles on the clock as well, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. And Lee Wood had a lot of those.
Yeah.
What next do you think for Lee Wood?
I would hope he retires. But
yeah, I was just going to say that. I don't see a real possible avenue, and I don't think he's at the stage of his career where, as Joe's just said, Do you want to see Lee? I mean, there was near the end of that fight before the towel come in. I was wincing at some of the shots he was taking. Then in a way, and I wouldn't want to sort of see that continue.
Yeah, and I think that
Does he have one more? Sorry, Joe.
Well, I was going to say perhaps a rematch with, when you consider how the first fight ended, possibly a rematch with Warrington.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Is there any point in having a cash out for both Josh Warrington and Lee Wood?
Yeah, there is for both of those guys, and Josh Warrington has regressed probably the same amount as Lee Wood has. So, I mean, if Derek Chisora's got another left in him.
Oh God, yeah. Don't forget Michael Conlan's still around. He's still in the game.
Yeah.
So Michael Conlan and Lee Wood.
And what about Anto the Apache Kakachi? Who do you see him fighting against next? And who should he fight?
Shakur is one that he's called out, isn't it? Shakur
Stevenson. Yeah.
Well, that's a division above him, isn't it?
Yeah,
but
Shakur. Yeah.
So Shakur's got Zepeda next, isn't he?
He does. Yes.
Yeah. So the winner of that, maybe, I don't know, two-weight world champ. I'll move up, and because he only holds the IBO belt now. The IBF got taken off him, didn't it? So he might jump up a weight and try and win a legit title at lightweight.
That would be a nice payday for him, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And he deserves to get paid. When you think he losing to, who was he losing to? Who did he lose to? He's got a loss on his record, hasn't he? I can't remember who it was to. But it was a British level fighter, kind of like Lee Wood, who lost to Jazza Dickens, didn't he? Got stopped by Gavin McDonald. It's unbelievable when you think about it now.
Yeah, I think Shakur is kind of ideal because there's not a lot to fear, is there, against Shakur?
No, I mean,
possibly falling asleep. I don't know, but
yeah, you'll get beat, but you're not going to get hurt.
Well, if I was Kakachi on that form, I mean, I remember thinking the same about Devin Haney. I remember watching him against who was it? Completely boxed his head off. I think he dropped him in the mid fight. Was it Joe? Come on, help me out.
Regis Prograis?
Yes, Regis Prograis. And I remember watching that performance, and I think I even might have said it. Embarrassingly so. This looks like the second coming of Floyd on the horizon.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? How wrong I was. But and there was almost similarities. People mentioned Shakur Stevenson and Floyd in the same breath, which I think is laughable. But I think if I was Kakachi, I'd be clamoring for that.
Yeah, I mean, the only person that's beaten Kakachi is Martin J. Ward. I just looked it up.
That's it.
Yeah. I couldn't remember either, but yeah.
He's not a bad domestic level fighter, but he's not Shakur Stevenson.
No, but yeah, I mean, I don't think Shakur's got the ability to hurt Kakachi. I think it'll be a clear step up, but I think that could be a good fight.
Mm.
Yeah.
Kakachi's feet and his positional, how he used his footwork to move himself positionally was kind of top draw on the night.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah,
his foot really good. Yeah.
Before we leave it, I think we should, as much as it might pain us to do so, maybe we should just come to some consensus. Do we think that Tyson Fury is coming back? And if so,
definitely.
Against whom? Please don't say Chisora 4. Please, no.
No, Fury Joshua in October, I believe.
Yeah, that's probably right. He'd never gone away, had he really? But
no.
He'll come back for the big. He's a money man. Fury, all his nonsense talk he comes out with. He's a money man. He wants the money, and the money obviously is with Joshua.
I'd rather see Fury Joshua than any talk of Fury Usyk 3. That fight does not interest me. Fury AJ interests me a little bit. Not not like it's in the same way that a freezer burned piece of food in the freezer might sort of be, oh well, you know.
Yeah, the Fury AJ kind of has no real relevance to the landscape, but that's still a great fight. It doesn't matter whether they're both losers or not. It's still a great fight, isn't it? Who's not on board with that? You know, come fight night when they get in the ring and the introductions are being read out, I'm all in. It has no relevance, but I'm all in nonetheless.
I
And as
think
Joe said, Fury's all about the money, and the whole thing about the retirement is, you know, if I'm active, I want that much money. But if you're going to pull me out of retirement, I've got to come out of retirement. Well, you can add some zeros onto that.
Well, the greatest heavyweight fight I've ever seen, and I'm not sure I'm not the only one, was the third Ali Fraser fight, and they were both past.
And they were both well past it.
Yeah. Well, as you said, Joe, that's sometimes you need them to be a bit past it to create a fight that good.
Yeah. So that they can't rely on the speed, the footwork, the timing, and they've got to actually fight as well as use the skills.
I'd like to see it. I mean, I think it'll also draw a line under an era. It'll put a full stop at the end of a sentence. It won't satisfy either sets of fanboys. I'd like to see it, and I know a lot of hardcores will not. They will turn their nose up at it. But for me, it'll be entertaining, and you know, I'd like to see Fury get flattened, but I think Fury would probably win, actually.
I tell you what, I know you said that the purists won't like it, but it's a bit like this. If that never happens in 5-10 years' time, it'd be like, why? Why didn't it happen?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
well, it'd be like,
now, well, I'm not interested. I don't pass their bests. Well, take me 5 years down the road and say to me, "Well, I'll be pissed a little bit gutted. It never happens." Yeah, I will.
yeah,
So,
you're right. Just like, you know, Lewis Bowe, right? Like, you know, could Riddick Bowe have beaten Alex Lewis? We don't know, right?
It'll be a case of, oh, we never got Joshua Fury. Why didn't that ever happen? Well, the purists didn't want it.
And we've also never got Joshua Wilder, and I think that ship has sailed. But it would also be nice to get, you know, that three-way thing happening.
And let's not forget that some of us are still like to eat a lot of humble pie over Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn, because I always said that was a gimmick fight. I still think it was a gimmick fight, but it was also one of the most amazing fights I've seen in the last 5 years. So, you know, you sometimes these things surprise you. Like Vladimir Klitschko AJ, I thought, oh, Klitschko's past it. He's been beaten by Fury. That was a great fight. So you never know.
No, absolutely. I mean, Eubank Ben was a significantly better fight than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Interestingly, I listened to the fight when I was at the gate at an airport, and I had a completely wrong view of the fight, having listened to, I think it was Talk Sport. When I listen, because
I'm just going to say, Bob, I've been chastised by Joe for listening to Talk Sport.
Well, in my defense, it was at an airport. You know, they had a watch along. I listened to it, and I thought, oh my God, you know, that fight went that way. When I get to the next airport, I'm actually watching highlights, and I'm thinking, that's not a bit what I listened to. It was a completely different thing.
You know the problem with having it on the radio, you can't turn off the commentary to get a more accurate view, can you?
Yeah. No, exactly. But you know, I think that causes a lot of problems. Like, really and truly, when you get commentators who fill the minds of people who don't, in the first place, know what they're watching, that's when you get these comments that appear on Facebook about how Tyson Fury is the greatest fighter that the world has ever seen, because they've listened to commentary for that's told them that.
Well, me and Joe talked about this a lot, and I've told many people to do this who have a funny view of it. Go and watch it without the commentary. Turn the sound off. Watch it on mute, because the influence you can have in what you're viewing, as you say, Bob, if you don't really understand what you're looking at. The amount of people who watched Fury and Ngannou told me that Fury won. Like, people who don't watch the sport, you know, look, turn the commentary off. Turn the commentary off, then watch it. Score it again without the commentary.
But the thing is, we got a lot of people watching the sport who don't actually know what they're watching. Like they don't.
Well, this is the problem with crossover fights, isn't it? The crossover to the mainstream.
Yeah, yeah, no, exactly. I also noticed when I was listening to the commentary on Fisher and Allen that the commentary was very, very pro Fisher until they had no choice but to accept that he was going down, and down goes Fisher. As I was
God, he went down.
channeling my
Oliver saying, "Was that a slip? Was that a slip?"
was channeling Howard Cosell. Yeah, no, it was fun. And I'll tell you what else has been fun. It's been fun chatting with you guys on here. So everybody should subscribe to Inside the Distance, Lee. And everybody who's watching this has probably already subscribed to Joe Stunner Boxing. But if there is somebody that's watching this that has not subscribed to Joe Stunner Boxing, shame on you. Go and subscribe to Joe Stunner Boxing.
I've even got is it your cat or your dog on there, haven't I, Bob?
Yeah. I think my dog signed up to get Lee over a certain number. I can't remember what that number was.
He did, and I thank him dearly.
Yeah, my dog made a YouTube account just to give Lee whatever that magic number was. You know what it's like, right? And by the way, congratulations, Lee. Your channel is growing fabulously. Excellent. Well done, man.
Yeah, well done.
Yeah, I mean, it's growing marginally. So.
Oh, no, it's doing better than marginally. Okay,
quality.
Well. Sorry, Joe, what was that?
I said quality, not quantity.
Yeah, very true, yeah.
Okay, well, thanks so much for your time, guys. I'll get these uploaded straight away, and we'll chat on the next one.
Thanks a lot.
Cheers, guys.
Bye-bye.